the men players, for the most part, like that. Because what we're touching on here, in a sense, is the sensibilities of women, the sensibilities of men. I think most people, most right-thinking people, on what the Spanish fellow did. And in some sense, you could almost have a bit of sympathy for him if he has really destroyed his career. He's certainly lost a lot of credibility for what he did. And he had to stand down from his role and all that. It was over the top. There's no question about that. Even if one can feel a slight sympathy, in the moment, he just, did something he really shouldn't have done. But actually, from the male perspective, I think we, probably with good reason, we have to be much more careful, not just in sport, but in our dealings with women, with females generally. Whereas one could be instinctively a bit tactile. Nowadays, you have to say, hang on a minute, I shouldn't go just tapping someone on the shoulder or say, well done. We have to think about it, even if we, in that instant, decide, but actually, I know this person quite well, blah, 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 no problem. But we do have to think in a way that I suspect women don't have to think. The fairer sex, the fairer gender. It's much more acceptable for women to do those things. And in a way, I suppose I can see why they are the gender, the species, that part of the species which tend to rear the children. They carry the children at first and they rear them. And therefore, they're almost bound to be more maternal. And that means that a warm, tactile, looking after, hugging, cuddling, whereas paternal, you can still, I think we should be able to be tactile. I'd say I'm a fairly tactile person. I seem to remember when you and I first met, we did a man hug, didn't we?
Bit of a
bromance there, sort of love at first sight and all that. We did, and I like that. I think it's a key part of being male. Too often, us males as kids are taught, oh no, you don't hug, you don't. Big boys don't cry. Well, actually, big boys do cry, and that we're going right off subject here, I know, and you bring that to the football world, and you just have to be careful. So I think the Spanish chap, a little bit of sympathy for him, but he was over the top. So you said, what happens if it was a female to a male? That would be a very interesting scenario, wouldn't it? If that happened the other way around, if a woman coach did kiss. Again, I suppose it's like the Spanish thing. It depends. It would depend on the degree of the kiss. I mean, he sort of grabbed her head, didn't he, and sort of pushed himself in and gave her he plonked one on her lips, I think, which was clearly over the top. If he'd just, I don't know, a bit of a hug and a kiss on the side of the head, I don't think he would have got into such trouble. But very interesting point to make.
It just brings up the question of, how far can players and referee and the managers go? I've seen players call the goal, and they go onto the manager, and they just jump on the manager. The legs actually off the ground, wrapped around the manager. Now, in a female setting, that would be allowed within a female and a female. Would it be allowed within a male and a female? I mean, who makes the rules? I don't know. I'm just thinking.
I suppose a lot would depend on, because obviously in the course of the week when the players are training, and of course there are women involved in the coaching and the fitness and the nutrition in most clubs, I expect. So there is. I noticed when at Palace, because we're quite close to the front, when they're all walking out and the teams are coming out. Clubs, I expect. So there is. I noticed when at Palace, because we're quite close to the front, when they're all walking out and the teams are coming out, there's a couple of the the physio girls who are walking along with one or two of the players who are on the bench, things like that.
Yeah.
So they're very involved. And I suppose what we don't see is what happens during the week. If there's they must all develop a closeness and,
Yeah.
the hug, whatever. So if that happened and we saw it on television, again, it might look a bit unlikely, but it may be what they're used to. And as I say, it depends on the degree of it, doesn't it? If it's a bit too intimate, I think you're asking for trouble.
Yeah. Well, let's hope we get that right in time. But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just thinking about this this girl, Lucy Bronze. She is a spectacular player, isn't she? I mean, the way that she plays, it is in my opinion, and I know we could be bashed for this, or I could be bashed for this, but in my opinion, I see her playing like a man. I'm not saying it in a derogatory way. I'm saying it in a nice way, in the nicest way possible. She's got the agility and the stamina and the movement that you would see in a men's football. And I think she was really pivotal to the way that the game went. On was that Saturday last week? I think it was Sunday last week. Anyway,
it was on Friday, I think, wasn't it?
Was it Friday? Yeah, I think it was Friday.
I think so.
Yeah. So we do have some really good players. There's quite a few of them, other ones as well. I was watching Match of the Day on Saturday. Is it Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah.
But anyway, I watched both. Now I can't remember which day I watched this, but Liverpool lost. And
that was yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah.
Was it yesterday? Oh yeah, it was yesterday. It was yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
I was so happy. I was really happy. I was like, finally, they're losing. Because they looked invincible. They looked like Manchester City when Manchester City was on its best form, when when everything was working well for Pep. And that's the way that Liverpool looked. But then I saw a vulnerability yesterday where, was it Fulham they played, wasn't it? Is it Fulham they played? They played Fulham.
Yeah. At Fulham. It was at Fulham, yeah.
It was at Fulham, yeah. And actually they scored first. I was disappointed. I was watching it and they scored first, like, yeah, typical Liverpool. They're going to win this. And then when Fulham scored 3 goals in 13 minutes, I was like, yes, this is it. What do you think? What do you think? Because we were saying about a downturn for